Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 1001-1020. Chapter 1001-Dead. On the other side of the earth, in the huge laboratory, Qin Yang fell into contemplation. A tall man, almost pale in color, with two thick dark circles under his eyes, a red tights, a wide raised collar, plus this inhuman and non-ghost state. If he wants people to see it, then of course it can be done, but if he doesn't want to, I'm afraid at least he has to open Rinnegan's spot before he can see this power. How does this person look familiar? But one thing is certain, he must be on the side of the mask. Qin Yang started to look back again, the memory he checked in Dr. Gero's mind. The deal the masked man made with him also threatened death. To put it simply, the other party is asking Dr. Gero to use his perpetual motion furnace to carry out an experiment. He gave Dr. Gero a black spar. There is no doubt that there is a crystal of mysterious energy, but it is very small. A part of. Although Dr. Gero can guess that this spar is unusual, he does not know the specific ins and outs. It is really according to what the other party said, and it will be connected to the perpetual furnace to check its response. Fortunately, Qin Yang checked Dr. Gero's memory in time and discovered this inhuman existence. Although the other party discovered Qin Yang, fortunately, he hadn't passed the information on, so Qin Yang subdued him. Now he is still fixed beside Dr. Gero. Qin Yang's confinement technique is not ordinary, it can be regarded as an enhanced version of reincarnation. He can now lock these spirits at will. Qin Yang is very clear that the experiment entrusted to Dr. Gero is a test. They must have guessed that the perpetual motion furnace is also connected to the door of mysterious energy, and that small piece of mysterious energy is used to open the door. It seems that even Qin Yang did not think of this, and it seems necessary for Dr. Gero to carry out this experiment. This is not beyond Qin Yang's expectations. The masked man shows a fox's tail. But there is one more point. The masked person who appeared in Dr. Gero's memory this time really wanted to be different from Frieza's one. That is to say, although the two people wore masks, they were not the same person. This also shows that the masked man should have many subordinates, just like Qin Yang. And this guy who is not a ghost or a ghost, is lurking in Dr. Gero's body after their deal is concluded. However, from the perspective of time, this time he is only the initial stage of the other party's experiment, and it seems that the Earth is also his groping stage, so whether his starting point is also from the Earth, it is very likely. Since it is Dr. Gero's memory, it must have happened at the present time, before. As for how long ago, Qin Yang knew nowhere. Suddenly, a hidden memory flashed across the sky in Qin Yang's heart like a shooting star. Is that so? Qin Yang suddenly discovered something. His brows wrinkled. He still remembered that when he first came here, he was going to enter, and the devil descended and landed on the earth, but before that, it was also because of the probing troops he sent, which was completely attacked. Destroyed. This made him have this idea of revenge. As for the reason for the destruction of the giant dragon army, Qin Yang has never found a reliable basis. So this question has been put on hold in my heart, but now with the appearance of the masked man, and he has also been to the earth, this has to make people wonder, could it be that those giant dragon legions can be done by this masked man? And Qin Yang clearly remembered that at this moment, all the giant dragons that were enough to destroy the Dragon Ball world suddenly disappeared without a trace. Is this just a coincidence? No, Qin Yang doesn't believe there are any coincidences in the world. Everything is just the arrangement of fate, only those who firmly grasp their own destiny are gods. Qin Yang sneered. Nothing could escape his eyes. Forget it. Don't think about the problems that you can't figure out. Maybe the time is not ripe. Qin Yang doesn't need to waste a lot of time here. Qin Yang looked at the guy who was neither human nor ghost. He put his hand into his head. Even a spirit body had its own memory like a human, and what Qin Yang had to do was to tamper with his memory. Qin Yang completely cut out this part of the other party's memory about himself and replaced it with other odd accidents. After doing this, he applied to Dr. Gero's head again, and also tampered with his experience, so that Qin Yang was a complete stranger to the two of them, and what happened here today did not exist. But what he did to Dr. Gru was also different from the former. His memory of Dr. Gru was only covered up, not completely erased. The purpose was to set a switch. Maybe doing so was a bit risky, but it was also a so-called art. The master is daring. When the masked man appears in front of Dr. Gero again, the switch will be activated, reminding Dr. Gero of the deal with Qin Yang. Then he should call Qin Yang in his heart, and Qin Yang can also immediately grab the masked man's tail. It was really fun to go in such a painstaking effort. Qin Yang has never been in the previous world. The final job is to throw the immortal people back into Dr. Gero's body, and Qin Yang untied the shackles on them. Both thoughts are like waking up from a big dream, but they just feel a little tired. At the same time, Qin Yang also quietly left, just like a gust of wind and a cloud, walking gently and coming again. As for Sharu, who was buried deep below, due to an unexpected discovery, the plan was put on hold for the time being, but this it can be regarded as a time bomb buried by Qin Yang. When needed, Qin Yang only needs to flick the switch, and the bait is ready. There is no need to wait 3 years. Qin Yang returned to his own otherworldly space, lying on a soft chair. According to his prediction, the good show on Namek would have to wait for about 5 or 6 days. At this stage, all he had to do was to wait patiently. Once there is something unexpected, Madara and Juya will notify themselves in time. But sometimes waiting is boring enough. Qin Yang felt that it was boring and called Aizen out to chat with him or play chess. During the game, Qin Yang told Aizen all his discoveries. To be honest, Aizen may know more about spiritual bodies and other things than he knows. Iran heard it, and while playing chess, expressed his own opinion. It seems that he is just a dead person, nothing to worry about. If you want to control him, you can blur it at any time. Qin Yang's sudden inspiration. Wait, what are you saying? Why do you want to hear my advice? I don't know, it's a dead person, that guy is a dead person. If you say that, isn't it? Qin Yang showed an excited expression. General. Chapter 1002-Cave. The clouds in the sky are constantly drifting, and the emerald green sky looks refreshing, but Vegeta is not in this mood at all. What just happened is a kind of humiliation for a soldier. Since he is defeated, he must accept his own death. Although he is not reconciled, although he is very angry, and although it is a blessing to continue to live, the humiliation cannot be erased. For him, it is better to die vigorously than to live a life of stubbornness. And this time, he was really powerless to fight back. He didn't even believe that he would be defeated like this. No matter in terms of strength or speed, he couldn't keep up with the opponent. He couldn't say it again. But since he survived, it was the other party's misfortune. He swore that he would return it. He would smash his fist into that person's face, and he would make that guy look good. Vegeta still recalled the words left by the masked man before he left. I won't kill you. In all fairness, you are still a bit skilled. Maybe you will be useful in the future. A little bit of skill. These 4 words are the most harsh. Vegeta was lying on the ground, waiting for his vitality to recover a little bit. At least he was still alive, and if that was the case, he would have to collect 7 Dragon Balls. Somewhere in Namek's cave, Bulma was searching the depths with a flashlight. He found that although the entrance of the cave was very narrow, the more you went in, the bigger the space, like a gourd. She visually inspected the location of the space and felt that the size of the space was moderate. He found a large capsule from the capsule bag he carried with him. With a click, she threw the capsule out. With a bang, a semicircular building houses appeared. Walmart stretched, and gate of opening walked in. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said, "Come in and sit." Slug was a little curious about this and asked, "Oh, is this your planet's technology? It seems convenient." "Of course, my dad invented it. How about it? Our planet's technology isn't bad, right?" Bulma said proudly. "It's really good, but I won't go in yet, I still have things to do." "Oh, you're going out too? Wouldn't that leave me alone, so insecure?" Slug looked into the cave and said, "I'm not going out, I'm going inside." Bulma was even more puzzled. Inside, you mean inside the cave? Yeah, my destination is in there. Bulma suddenly realized, is there something else in here? Yes, this sentence should be the entrance to a certain ruin. Slug looked inside, his eyes became deep. And LT. Bulma suddenly became a little curious. Relic. You brought us here, did you just want to go there? It's just a drop-in, and it's also a safe place to provide you with some protection. But what are you doing in there? Oh, I don't think I should ask that. Slug smiled and said, it doesn't matter, I'm just going inside to find something. Is it a treasure? The habitual thinking of the people on Earth made her think there was some kind of treasure inside. It might be of no use to you, so to speak, but to me it might be a treasure of treasures. Bulma breathed, okay, let's go. I'm going into the room to rest. If you need to bring food or tools, I have them here, you don't need to be polite. Bulma walked into the room. Her previous fatigue made her feel very heavy. She lay on the bed, and her sleepiness struck immediately. But Slug was still standing in the doorway, looking at the room as if waiting for something. Suddenly, Bulma in the room felt a heat coming from her body. She suddenly felt that she was full of energy, and a pair of blood-red eyes in the corner were staring at her. Following her, he suddenly rushed out, and a smile suddenly appeared on Slug's face. Why did you come out again? Bulma's face was a little red. I don't know if it was because of embarrassment or other reasons. She hesitantly said, I always feel a little uncomfortable. I think there should be no danger in the ruins. Otherwise, I will go with you, if it is convenient for me. Slug seemed to be waiting for these words and said, yes, it's just some dilapidated buildings, it should be much safer than outside. The somersault cloud that Sun Wukong rides on the earth, the fairy beans replanted by Kalen Shanran, harvested 7, and all the wounds on Sun Wukong's body were healed after eating. He learned that Keelan, Bulma and Gohan who went to Namek in a deep crisis. He immediately came to Bulma's home, ready to take a transformed spaceship to rescue them. It was a luxurious building. Monkey King jumped from the center of the circular building. Then you were really the garden of Bulma and the others. Right now, the spaceship is nearing completion, and the original baseball-shaped spaceship has been expanded a lot. The overall look is almost larger than the original one by more than a full circle. After learning that the spacecraft only had a music device that was not completed, Sun Wukong got on the spacecraft impatiently and rushed to Namek, where the bathroom, toilet, kitchen and bedroom were all available, and according to his request, there was still a gravity device, which doubles the gravity inside the spacecraft. The control system of the spacecraft is very simple, just press a switch, and a beam of light rises into the sky. There were only 2 cute pets complaining on the ground. They are old friends, why don't you even say hello? Said the little pig. The spaceship came to space in a blink of an eye, and the technology of aliens is really amazing. Sun Wukong looked out of the window curiously. For the first time, he knew that the universe was dark, but he couldn't control it anymore and couldn't wait to start practicing. There are still 6 days before reaching the destination. In these 6 days, he must surpass Vegeta. This is the lowest goal he has set for himself, but in fact, as long as tonight is past, it will definitely surpass Vegeta. And these 6 days are also a kind of test for the ghost. He has to elevate Sun Wukong to the level of God. It seems that both are busy. Sun Wukong started to use the gravity adjustment device. He remembered that the gravity in Zhuangmen Gorge was 10 times higher, so he would start practicing from the double gravity, or when the device was activated, he suddenly found that his body suddenly became like this. Light, you can't feel the pressure of double gravity at all. He couldn't help but start to think of those dreams, when he thought that it was just his own urgent mood, but it seemed that his body had undergone amazing changes in the dark. He began to increase the weight continuously, 40 times, 80 times, until 100 times, and he finally felt a little pressure. Chapter 1003_Identity of the Dead. It's weird, am I suddenly so much stronger? Or is this gravity system, what's wrong? Sun Wukong shook his head, forget it, I can't handle that much, I have to start with the basic skills. There is no difference between day and night in the universe. Sun Wukong has not thought about these. When he is tired, the practice of this day will be over. But it seems that after he has a goal, Sun Wukong is more motivated than usual, but the magic shadow, but he can't wait so long, and he still has a long way to go from the request of the ghost. Now that time is limited, what to do? Of course, the ghost won't sit still. He used a little means, but it's not a clever trick. At the same time as Sun Wukong's training, he secretly sucked the energy from Sun Wukong's body. In this way, his training can't continue. For how long? And when he collapsed from exhaustion, the shadow's chance came. Coupled with his hypnosis, Sun Wukong soon had that dream again. After countless hellish trainings, the ghost has also turned into Sun Wukong's sparring several times, and Sun Wukong has now mastered the transformation of the Super Saiyan 2 form, and is now moving towards the Super 3 realm. This series of transformations of the Saiyans is difficult, and they have to go step by step, and no matter how economically Qin develops, he can only make him reach the state of Super 2, and the road in the future depends on them. Besides, how to become the Super Saiyan God in the future, I must think more about the ghost shadow. The ghost remembered that Qin Yang had told him that he was the legendary savior, the strongest Saiyan, who had the strength to rival the god of destruction, and in the distant past, he was the only one who was bound to defeat the evil Saiyan. Among the few Saiyans with a righteous heart, he only appeared once. Legend has it that the 6 Saiyans with the heart of justice can only achieve this condition by concentrating the light of their hearts of justice on one person. At that time, he will be able to wear flames all over his body, his hair will be purple-red, and his body will be transformed. Thin, pupils dilated. But this condition is not necessary. The premise is that Sun Wukong must be in a desperate situation, and no matter what form, being in a desperate situation can inspire the deepest buried essence of the Saiyans. And once you break through this level and reach the final Super Blue Realm, it will be just around the corner. In another world, Qin Yang and Aizen played the second game of chess. You just said dead people. What do you mean? Rarely, Aizen would also question. This is a new look Qin Yang discovered, and said, it's an avatar accepted by someone, just like the relationship between you and me. Then that means he is also a certain world. Qin Yang thought about it for a while, and then made a move. Not bad, a great world. It seems that I made a slip of the tongue to remind you of what. If that's the case, you should know its origin, but I'm curious, what is the identity of this spirit body? That Dai's step is very delicate, Qin Yang replied while thinking. If I remember correctly, Boston Brand used to be the star of the circus, but a complete asshole, but the circus skills he flies in the air are really superb, including his assassination in an accident. Yes, the person he has offended, but this is also his luck. His soul did not go to the spiritual world, but met a mysterious goddess. He cast a spell on him, and it was given to him. He has another chance to make it between life and death. He is neither a human nor a ghost. He will live forever as a spiritual body. However, he also had the opportunity to choose rebirth before, but he did not. He chose to do a so-called a good man, using his spiritualized skills to save others. Quote. Qin Yang finally made a decision, but Aizen immediately had a change. It sounds like a very old story. What are his specific abilities? Some places are similar to ghosts. They can be attached to other people at will, have invisible power, can fly, can sense things, teleport invisibly, and even heal wounds, resurrect life, and penetrate solid objects. Sounds not bad. I wonder if these abilities will be further enhanced after blurring it. General. Qin Yang fell into a dead game again. He thought for a long time, and finally realized that this game was lost by himself. One more game. Why do you seem interested in him? It should be said that it is relatively new. I have never met a spirit body in other worlds. Qin Yang glanced at him and said, then when the time is right, I will let you fulfill this wish. Ellipsis. Winds extreme, dream of love, 773,943,984. The extreme wind, Wanhua mirror, 874,542,149. Closing square bracket ellipsis ellipsis. Ellipsis. I'm not in a hurry, but I don't know what happened to Juya. It's okay to let him suffer for that quick temper. In a certain area, in a darkened cell, a huge fox curled up there, with 9 tails always behind him, and his whole body glowed with golden light. He lay there looking so docile, as if he was asleep, but that wasn't the case. Not only was he not docile at all, he wasn't asleep at all. It can only be said that he has nothing to do, rest for a while, and his ears have been listening to the outside. As long as there is any disturbance, he will immediately open his eyes. To say that this cell is also very unique, as if it can absorb energy, no matter what method Juya uses, it still remains motionless. So he had to wait in this way, waiting for the moment he thought to come. It was terrifyingly quiet outside the cell, but Juya was not afraid, because in such an environment, he was afraid that no problems could be solved, and Juya was born without knowing what fear was. But today is different. It seems that someone from here has become a little lively outside the cell. Is that him? Said a rough voice. It doesn't look very scary, but a little cute. The voice was a woman. Juya frowned in secret. Sometimes he was most disgusted by others praising him for being cute. How could such a ferocious beast be described as cute? This is clearly an insult. But Nahi Juya can't do anything now, and in this small room, he doesn't know how long he will be locked up. But seriously, are you really going to use him as an experiment? Of course, but not yet. This experiment must be fully prepared. Although this guy is limited in size, the energy inside it seems to be infinite, and it will continue to grow if it is reduced a little bit, so the container we prepare must be able to accommodate nearly half of the energy in its body. Quote. Juya smiled secretly, half. It seems that Juya must be prepared, and give them a big surprise when the experiment comes. Chapter 1004 means. On Namek, at both ends of a stream, 2 silhouettes kept jumping back and forth on the banks on both sides. The stream was extremely clear, but they couldn't reflect the figures of the two, which showed how fast the speed was. Be careful, hold your breath, and come closer to have a look. At this time, Krillin looked like an old man, directing Gohan's every move. The two jumped up to a high place, and Kling pointed to the front and said, under that cliff. As the distance got closer, the strong breath became more and more obvious. Krillin and Gohan were clinging to the edge of the cliff, and when they looked down, they saw that it was a village with Nameks everywhere. And the houses they live in seemed to have been spaceships once. The two sighed and couldn't help but wonder, what are they doing? Frieza sat in the exclusive seat, with 2 senior combatants, Sabo and Dodoria, standing on the left and right. What is very conspicuous is that the 2 hands are each holding a huge bead. The bead is yellow and translucent, like amber, and different star patterns are engraved in the center. Kaylin stared at the 3 of them and said, oh, looking at the 3 people, especially the one sitting in the round object, his anger is terrible, and the things in their hands seem to be Dragon Balls. Calm down, you are surprised that the Dragon Ball of planet Namek actually grows so big. Right now, those soldiers are going door to door, and that's how the Dragon Balls were found before. Suddenly, Doria raised her head and glanced. On Keelan's side, the 2 of them shrank their heads and hid behind the rocks. Frieza noticed the anomaly and hurriedly asked, what's wrong? Dodoria. Dodoria hurriedly explained, it's nothing, I suddenly felt a little power over there, and now it has disappeared again, maybe it's a small animal or a bug or something. Krillin and the others escaped the catastrophe. If they were discovered like this, then their fate would be death. Soon, other trash fish began to report to Frieza. King Frieza only found 5 people, the others seemed to have escaped. Hearing this, Klein couldn't help but think, would Slug also escape from the group? This idea may be naive, but he must be surprised when they know Slug's true identity. Come on, I brought the 5 Namekians to Frieza with the trash fish I cooked for you. If you don't want to die, hurry up and come out. The trash fish shouted. I saw 5 people who looked similar to Tenjin and Piccolo, but they were not as young as Piccolo. 2 of them were children and 3 were old people. When they saw the Dragon Balls in the hands of Frieza's group, the leader, an elderly Namekian, showed a resentful expression, which seemed to indicate that this group of people was coming for the Kuibao Dragon Ball of Namek. The little man sitting on the stall-shaped float said, "You all listen to me, I am Frieza, I am looking for your Dragon Ball. As far as we know, there should be about 10 of you. Where are the others? Where did you go?" The 2 young Nameks clung tightly to the old man beside them, and their answer was silence. Frieza seems to be interested, he is not so easy to talk. Don't talk, kill them. This was the mouth of one of the elderly Nameks, but in their native tongue. But obviously Frieza saw through the trick and said, "Well, don't speak the language we understand in Namek." Let the old man say again. Others have gone out to work, only us old people and children are left. Right, I'll be fine if you answer honestly like this. Well, continue to answer my question, is there a Dragon Ball? I think there should be one in this paragraph. The Namekian replied, we don't know that. It seems that these Nameks are still too naive, because they are kind by nature, so they are not good at lying. Frieza said coldly, Dodoria, what did the second Namekian who was killed by us tell us? The pink fat man said, oh. He said that only those recognized warriors are eligible for Dragon Balls. Well, he's very stubborn, and he's always refused to help us. In order to get him to cooperate, we had to kill one person. Hearing this, the Star people were shocked, and they never thought that the other party would use such a cruel method. In fact, even if Frieza knew that he could get the dragons by begging, he wouldn't choose, because he just wanted them to die for fun. Frieza continued, he just said obediently, he told us 7 rural girls, made by the most prestigious elder on the planet, and now 7 elders are keeping them, whoever wants to get the Dragon Ball will have to be with him. These 7 elders are more intelligent than power, and then they can say their wishes, only those warriors who are recognized by the elders can get the Dragon Balls. He said, people like me, never want to get Dragon Balls. Then I killed him, the first one Dragon Ball. It really took a while. There was a haze on the faces of the Nameks, and they resented the death of their companions, but they were powerless to resist, as if they were on a scorching iron plate. Vegeta, who was lying on the ground recovering on the other side, was still wearing a detector on his head, so he could hear Frieza's words clearly. It was through this eavesdropping that Lisha overheard. Now the news has cheered him up again, and it looks like he has to get ahead of Frieza and get the 3 Dragon Balls. Namek, people gritted their teeth and said, don't talk nonsense. Yes, other elders won't give you Dragon Balls so easily. They refuted Frieza with their last dignity. But in front of this Demon King, these words are useless. Frieza ordered, I have a way to make them behave, Sabo, let them see. Although the man with the handsome face was holding 2 huge Dao beads, it did not affect the speed of his figure at all. In a blink of an eye, he came to the 3 Namekians and kicked one to death. One of them tried to resist and released a Qigong wave, but only killed a small fish. Then Sabo threw the Dragon Ball in his hand into the sky, freed his hand to backhand a Qigong wave, and then stretched out his hand to catch the Dragon Ball. An adult Namekian. Frieza smiled and said, how about haha, now you can hurry up. The only remaining elder did not give up and said, why do you collect Dragon Balls? Just a small wish, I want to live forever. Chapter 1005_Xenogenic. Hearing Frieza's wish, Krillin was also very shocked. It seems that he, like Vegeta, wants eternal life, but now they still can't figure it out, and they don't know that Vegeta has already betrayed them. People. Although the remaining elder had sweat on his forehead and was choked by fear, he still insisted on his bottom line and said, I will not give you the Dragon Ball even if I fight for this life. But he greatly underestimated the cruelty of Frieza's gang. Haha, would rather die than give me Dragon Balls. It turns out that people on this planet are really stubborn, so if I want to kill children, will you still be so stubborn? Elder couldn't bear it any longer, and shouted loudly, "You bastards, actually attacking children." In a cave on Namek, Bulma followed Slug, and they went deeper and deeper along the cave, as if there would never be a way out. Bulma asked worriedly, "What ruins are there really under here? If not, just take a few more steps." Bulma sighed and said, "Although I'm not tired yet, if I go on like this, I'll be tired sooner or later. I'm not like you." Bulma thought, Dragon Ball, everything is due to Dragon Ball, but what kind of power is hidden behind this magical thing? Although she has seen Dragon Ball many times, she does not know the mystery of it. Bulma asked, "I said, although only the dragon race can make Dragon Balls, what is the source of this magical power? Why don't other races have something similar?" Slug said, "I don't know about this, but there should be some basis." "Why don't you know anything? This is your planet. Even on your planet, you don't necessarily know all the secrets, do you?" This made Bulma speechless. Indeed, there are too many secrets in the world, and not everyone has all the secrets. But for some people, even if they don't ask, they can guess in their hearts. And if there is a reason for this, then why is Yang not interested in Dragon Ball? Yes, it also has huge energy, but why did Yang give up Dragon Ball in the Dragon Ball world? Why didn't he want the mysterious energy hidden behind Dragon Ball? Obviously, the composition energy of Dragon Ball has been processed. No matter how you drop it, you should not forget this. But also because the answer lies in apparently mysterious energies that don't just gather in on 7 beads. Moreover, as long as you gather 7 beads, you can get all the life energy. Then this condition is too simple, and the characters in the Dragon Ball world are so powerful. Then I will explain that there is a huge amount of mysterious energy in this world. Slug said, "But I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, I just heard some rumors." Bulma was suddenly interested again and said, "What rumors?" Slug said, "That's a rumor from thousands of years ago, almost every Namekian has heard of it more or less. As far as I know, if you go deep into the origin of Dragon Ball, it seems that Dragon Ball is an imitation of some kind. It is produced by energy, that kind of energy is said to be extremely rare, and I don't know what it is, but I heard that that kind of energy is very powerful and can achieve anything. Anything you can think of, so Dragon Ball is also in some aspects. It is almost omnipotent, but unlike what kind of energy, there is a limit to what Dragon Ball can achieve. It is said that the dragons on Namek first discovered that energy. Since then, the dragons of Namek will use this. The technique was passed down from generation to generation, and gradually it became a culture unique to Namek. Quote, "So it is, but does that kind of energy really exist in the world? I don't know about this, it's just a rumor, but Dragon Ball itself is magical enough, but some things seem to be true." "What's the matter?" "It is rumored that when the mysterious energy was discovered, there was a group of dragon people who went into the Devil's Way and fell into the Devil's Way. The more peaceful and friendly they were, the more evil they became." Bulma was surprised. "Is there such a thing?" "Ah, I see, like Piccolo." "Vic. Ah, the great devil of our planet, but he's dead now, no wonder he's like that." The two continued to walk, and the originally wide road became narrower and narrower. And the evil Namekians mentioned by Slug are actually a weakening in intelligence, affected by the huge Tao energy, and destroying certain factors in the genes. This theory is not groundless. Because only barbarians like war, they lack sympathy and understanding. This has nothing to do with hobbies. People who like to kill have certain defects in their brains. While the two often appear to be inseparable, in reality there is a difference. War is an expression of ignorance, and Nameks are born noble. And the coming of war will take everything together, the beloved thing, the beloved partner, not the lover, the friend, the child, the happy life, and the peaceful sleep every night. How cruel and ignorant is this inhuman performance! This is also shamed by the Namekian people, so in order to keep the Dragon Balls, they must go through layers of tests, not only force, but more importantly, character. Moreover, they never abuse Dragon Balls, because once they violate certain laws, even Dragon Balls can't be recovered. It is human nature to live, old, sick and die. Although they live a long time, it does not mean eternal life. And when the war comes, the smoke of gunpowder is everywhere, and there are broken corpses and homeless people floating around. How ridiculous is this? But in the eyes of those who started the war, it was all a price for their own joy, either to eradicate threats, or to keep themselves materially treated, or to be bloodthirsty madmen, and here the bewitched Namekians apparently a third party. They were born demons, distinct from the rest of the Nameks. This Bik is different. Bik has just been polluted by the evil side of human beings on Earth. The stains will be washed away one day, but the guy who is born with stains is different. Although the danger was eliminated at the time, this energy has changed the genetic factors in their bodies, so every few hundred years, a seed of evil will always be born on this planet, and people are born to be extremely evil. Likes blood, likes to see the painful expressions on people's faces, likes to conquer everything. In other words, he is no different from Frieza. And whenever such a child comes, once it is handled improperly, it will cause an irreversible catastrophe. Chapter 1006_Wall. How long will we go? Bulma didn't know how many times she had asked this question, but she knew that the answer she always got was the same sentence. It's almost time. Slug, the big Namekian, had always had a kind-hearted countenance, and by his own account he had not been back here for a long time, and from his green-skinned face, he could not be seen in the slightest. Inner thoughts. Really, if I knew it would not come, Bulma complained in her heart. However, at the beginning, for some reason, she suddenly had such an impetus in her heart, as if a little one was left in the room. She felt uncomfortable, and she didn't feel so tired. She sighed, and she was convinced that this woman's mind was changeable, even though she was a woman herself. The halo formed by the light of the flashlight on the wall, and the deeper you go, the more frightened you feel. The only place you can see is the light spot of the flashlight, and the place you can't see is the darkness where you can't see 5 fingers, and now they have left the hole. The house was very far away, and from the way we walked, there seemed to be a downward trend. Bulma looked around, but there was really nothing to look at, except that the soil was a stone, and moreover, the hazy dust, very delicate, all black, didn't know where it came from. As they walked forward, with every footfall, they floated all over the place. Bulma was complaining all the time that this place was filthy. But it is really boring to keep walking forward, and one's attention must be on something to keep oneself awake, especially in this relatively closed environment. Bulma's attention was focused on the flashlight's aperture, which was bright, like the moon, and swayed back and forth as his arm manipulated it. Huh, strange, what is this? I'm going to hold the light of my flashlight on the surrounding walls, as if I've found something. How are you feeling? Slug on the side seemed to sense something unusual and asked Bulma. I feel fine, okay, seems fine, he. Bulma showed a somewhat disobedient smile. She used 3 far-fetched answers in a row, and he did this just to avoid making the scene very embarrassing. After all, her little discoveries were only what she had in her heart. A kind of inexplicable guess, he found that the back of the cave did not seem to have formed naturally, but it was only what he thought, so there was no need for her to express this idea. After all, she came here just for sightseeing, as an escort to kill the boredom, so she kept a low profile as much as possible, while he started to regret it. After all, she didn't seem to be that familiar with this person. Perhaps Namek's actions this time were a mistake in themselves. But so far, her own people have been in this place, so it is too late to regret it. The situation outside is dangerous, and the cave is better. But that strange idea kept spreading in his mind. Like a hole in the dam, the water would only flow out from the hole far away, and gradually break down the dam, and what he found was to flatten what was originally in his mind. There is a hole in the embankment of her, and the idea is the flow of water. Now that idea has swept through her entire mind, she is waiting for the next idea, and diverts her attention to save the mind that has been reduced to Wangyang world. But this is even more strange. Why does she care so much about this idea? Could it be that her heart has begun to be partial? Is this cave really man-made? But even if it is man-made, what does this prove? Of course, nothing can be proved at the moment, but when the amazing discovery is presented, it may explain why someone deliberately digs here. However, they have not yet reached that step, and to reach that step, they must go through a long journey. The night soon fell, and before they knew it, they had been walking for nearly a day. Was it a mistake for the horse to forget to wear the watch? He thought it was a short distance, even if Slug said it was far. It's strange to say that the world is so technologically advanced, but people don't have anything like a smartphone. It may not even be useful for space travel at all. Bulma and the others sat there. Fortunately, he wore a mask or something to prevent dust from being sucked into his nose. Only Rag was on the side. The Namaks are sometimes strange, they don't care at all. Outside things, I don't know if they breathe with their lungs. Bulma closed his eyes and lay on the soft ground, and when he closed his eyes, he thought of the big soft bed that belonged to him on the earth. Hey, what a happy time at that time. Why do you have to take a breath to engage in Namek? Maybe he was still angry with someone in his heart. Maybe it was his nerves in risk-taking that stimulated him. Maybe he chose the wrong person at first, but girls' generation usually only values a person's appearance, so how do you know that you really want to? What do you want? The object is no longer the handsome Prince Charming. It is a reliable person, who is very reliable in everything she does, but there is no such person around her now, or even if there is, it does not meet her requirements in other aspects. Forget it, don't think about it, she told herself. But the more she thinks about it, the more upset she becomes, as if she needs thousands of words of nagging. Especially feelings, and more free and easy, but it's just sad twice behind the scenes. The darkness in Shandong is boundless, and he can't see the way out ahead, nor the way to retreat. Being here, it seems to be another world, but it's not bad, it is indeed another world. But it is also another world. For Qin Yang, the understanding is different. He is never tireless, and he is rarely sentimental. Playing chess was his only pleasure. Now everything is in place. On the side of the black starry sky, he can see his future. Time and space are flowing, bright streamers, everything is in his control, just like the chess game in his hand. Losing is also a kind of fun. The key is whether you can enjoy this kind of fun, and these winning or losing can't hurt his body at all, that's why he can lose. Right now, a symphony is ready, and the prelude has slowly flowed into Qin Yang's ears from somewhere far away. Chapter 1007-Container. The horn sounded suddenly, and the war represented in ancient times was coming, but obviously, the current time and space are far from that time. Juya turned over and woke up from the chaotic dream. Obviously, this sound brought back memories of his past, but he didn't mention it. Juya was in darkness, and the surrounding walls were as strong as cold iron. Not only that, they seemed to absorb the impact force, and it could be regarded as an unbreakable cell, but even so, as long as Juya wanted to make a scene after all, there is still nothing he can do here. But why is the horn sounding for no reason outside? Could it be related to their previous conversation? Thinking of this, the blood on Juya's body boiled. Container, did they really get a container? Trying to divide the energy within yourself into that container. It seems that Juya also needs to teach them a lesson, and let them see what power is. Juya imagined the moment he broke free from the cage, how to let these guys feel the real power. It seems that the fun of some strong people stops here, or is too strong, and the fun in power is only this. But no matter what, these seemingly boring actions are not useless as long as they can bring fun to themselves. Isn't life in this world just for pleasure? I have never heard of anyone who lives in the world to suffer, and even ascetic monks, their cultivation is not a pleasure, no matter what they do, as long as they are not chased away with whips, as long as they come from the heart. Decisions come with some kind of fun. As long as you laugh at Isho, all your troubles will disappear. Life should be so free and easy, otherwise it will be difficult to live this life. In a sense, Juya is such a person, although he has deep hatred in his bones. It may seem contradictory to the surface, but isn't that what life is like? How can such a long life be possible if it is not fun? Isn't that boring? So life should be so simple sometimes, even if you are locked up, even if you almost died before, even if your arrogance makes you suffer, but things are impermanent, as long as you can ensure that every day is a safe day. Whatever happens. That being said, there are really not many that can do that. Knowing and understanding are two different things. Many people only know some truths that are put in front of their mouths, but they do not understand. It's like 99% and 100%. 99% of the truth is understood by 99% of people, and the remaining 1% is the most important, so there is no difference between knowing and not knowing, and perhaps it will add a lot of burden. Is greater than or equal to. Knowing that you know, knowing that you don't know, maybe that's the difference. Why? Close hollow corner bracket. Obviously, Juyi knew what he didn't know, and he also knew what he didn't know, such as Qin Yang, so he followed him willingly, even if he used to be a scumbag that he looked down on at all. But how can the hero be linked to the source? If it is really serious, Juyi is not a small character. However, this excitement gradually dissipated with the passage of time. Any irresistible emotion is no match for time. It is the biggest enemy and the most stubborn enemy. Juyi was dozing off again, pouting the corners of his mouth. It seems that their actions are really slow enough. This time he really fell asleep. But how did he know that there was almost chaos outside? Where would he find such comfort? Through the wall, the outside world is like a wasteland. It is a small town in the desert, and everywhere is gray. That color is similar to the color of Juyi's coat, but if the whole world is such an orange-yellow color, it will give people a dry and remote feeling. Messy, noisy, people are hawking everywhere, but not with coins, but in exchange for things. The clothes people wore in the past were even more tattered, but they all have one thing in common, that is, long-sleeved robes, chasing donkeys, horses, camels, etc. It seems this is a very backward place for some reason. The houses there are made of soil, and usually those items that are treated as garbage, such as tire cans, are effectively used. The restaurant is also full of unsightly things, dusty soup, and black dusty bread, and the wine will not be a good wine. But the most striking thing was a group of sturdy men gathered together. They were pulling the rope so hard that the dry water dripped from their hands and tortured the skin on their bodies. Even those accidentally dripped. Just the moment it touched the ground, it turned into water vapor and made a squeaking sound. Those coolies were forced to be whipped, like livestock, covered with dust, and their clothes were naked, their bare muscles screamed, and their physical strength was severely exhausted. And although there are many such screams, compared with the loud horn and the whipping sound of the whip, they are insignificant. The men with whips stood beside them, with leather masks on their faces and leather jackets on their bodies, but they only covered important parts of shame, and deliberately put silver-white rivets on them, which looked fierce. It's mysterious, and it looks exactly like a medieval executioner. The coolies were miserable and groaned again and again. Some people fell from time to time, and some people were constantly filled in. However, once they put down their work, the fate of waiting for them would not be death, it was just more painful than death. They were pushing a big car, and it was inappropriate to say it was a big car, because it was so huge, like a skyscraper. This exaggerated job is being carried on slowly. It was a huge jar. If it was shrunk, it would be similar to an ordinary earthen jar, but there were also differences. It was not made of clay or bronze. It was decorated with many decorative patterns, but to accentuate the biggest iconic pattern on the crock. It was a face with a very exaggerated smile. And this thing is far more bizarre than anything. The squinted eyes, the flat nose, the corners of the mouth curved like a crescent moon, and the volume is even more outrageous. I don't know where it came from. Even a modern factory would take a long time to make it. It appears that the trumpet was when this work began. And three guys with weird masks stood aloft, looking down on it all. Occasionally a breeze came, blowing the dust on the ground, and also blowing the large black clothes on their bodies. But they were like scarecrows, always standing there motionless, like the masters of fate, looking down at everything below. Chapter 1008 _ Hard to fall asleep. Sleeping is a wonderful thing, and only when you realize this can you realize what a beautiful dream is. As one of the three major desires of human beings, the unchangeable instinct of human nature, a good night's sleep, sometimes it is really wonderful. Especially when the body is extremely tired, especially after meals, the temperature is moderate, and lying in bed seems to be the most wonderful enjoyment. A full man does not know that a hungry man is hungry. People who usually enjoy sleeping every night will not appreciate the hardships of shift work. It's also like watching the spectators of a football game. When the team they expect loses, some of them are just full of complaints, and they don't understand the mood of those players at all. They keep complaining and complaining constantly. If changed, they may not be able to do better than this. At the same time, there is a person who can't sleep in the cave, a blue-haired girl from the earth, who is also the original heroine in this world, Bulma. Originally, she should enjoy a rich and nourishing life. It wasn't because she was spoiled and used to it, but after she forgot the secrets in her heart that made her toss and turn, she always thought about the marks on the wall. She seemed to have insomnia, and she closed her eyes for a long time, but she still couldn't sleep deeply. It seems that there is a reincarnation here, and there are two dead ends. Only by unlocking one can his mood become a little more relaxed. It might be the air of a foreign land that made her mentally abnormal, at least she thought so. Otherwise, how could she keep biting on this problem nervously? Unbearable tiredness, time passed by in a hurry. The water that cannot be grasped, like sand, drains little by little from between the fingernails. This second that can't be grasped, the next second has become history. It is no different from a second 10 years ago. Time is like this. Once you miss it, once you don't express your thoughts in this second, then the next second, he has lost his value. Lost forever, irretrievable. The helpless is the helpless person, the manpower is limited, she is not a god, she cannot do it. It would be nice if the Shenlong was by his side, and it would be nice if there were more wishes. All I can think of is regret, infinite regret. The night is too short for the young, but too long for the sad. Tears sometimes do not represent sadness, the real sadness is the heart, the depths of the heart. The energy seemed inappropriate, but she couldn't just get up, because she suggested to stop and rest, she thought it would make herself feel better. But in fact, instead of alleviating the unpleasantness in my heart, it actually made something more heavier. Why, do you want to get up and walk? Slug on the side asked suddenly. Maybe he was just talking in his sleep, she pretended to be asleep, with embarrassment written on her face hidden in the shadows, and at the same time she was very hesitant. This is not like her usual style, what happened to her? Hey, I'm talking to you. How do you know I can't sleep? Slug smiled. The anger in you says it all. Bulma got up reluctantly and complained. You people are really, you can see everything from anger, and I'm not a martial arts fanatic. As long as people are alive, they are angry, but the size is different. Don't say this, you came voluntarily. I am very anxious. If you can't sleep, just keep going. Okay, whatever, I can't sleep anyway. The two set off again, but in a hurry than before. Bulma also burst out with energy out of nowhere, and the tiredness was forgotten in a blink of an eye. This time, it was her turn to walk in front, and Slug followed behind with a smile on his face. Maybe some seemingly endless things will turn the tide as long as you stretch your strength to do them. That's what she usually does when she's in trouble, like her scientific work. Maybe people who are talented to a certain extent are like this. As long as they follow a direction and find their goals, all they have left in their hearts is doing. All kinds of preparations are completed so quietly, the brain itself is a supercomputer, and it will paralyze everything when it has a goal. But things are often not like this. They usually develop in unexpected directions, and there is always a sparseness in 100 secrets, not to mention that life is fickle. In this one, an unexpected thing happened. In front of Bulma and the others, there were two dark holes. The feeling in the cave was already depressing enough, and then suddenly such a thing came up. What is this? Of course this is very bad. it is a fork in the road. Slug stayed where he was, as if thinking. What? You don't know which way to go? Bulma flashed her flashlight back and forth to the sides. Slug's answer was also unexpected. You choose, how about it? Which way do you feel is the right direction? Bulma replied in surprise. What, you want me to choose? Slug nodded. My luck has never been good, and I may have made the wrong choice. If I go wrong, I have to turn around, so you come. Are you serious? Do you look at me like a joke? Okay. Bulma really didn't know what to do, but she casually pointed to the right side and said, just here. She didn't know why she said that, and what she didn't say was that she was a little sure, as if something was calling her. Slug smiled silently, and followed Bulma into the cave on the right. It may be that the hard work pays off, or it may be the arrangement of fate in the dark, and there seems to be some kind of subtle light coming from the front. Light represents hope, and hope brings excitement. There's light ahead. That's great. Slug reminded. There is still some distance. You go slowly, I will go ahead and take a look first. In a blink of an eye he disappeared. It seemed that she was indeed dragging him down, but she didn't want to be taken care of too much by this person who didn't know much, so she suddenly scolded herself again. I'm so stupid to forget that they have the ability to fly. But think about it, maybe this big slug can't fly. Forget it, I'll just keep walking honestly, it's not that short of a distance. That's what I said, but I'm really tired when I walk. That's how people are. When they see hope, sometimes they don't have endless stamina. Instead, their nerves start to relax, and they are particularly dragged down by whatever they do. When she finally walked to the exit of the light, an unimaginable scene appeared in front of her. Bulma opened her mouth wide in surprise, as if she hadn't received such a shock for a long time, and even forgot what caused the light source. Chapter 1009-Prehistoric Ruins. They stood on a high ground with an extremely steep cliff below, and this exit just happened to be able to glimpse almost all the features here. Simply incredible. What is in front of you is a city that looks like a long time ago, but it doesn't leave too many traces here, and many things are preserved as if they were new. Here, where is this? Bulma's mouth widened in surprise. She wasn't asking anyone, she was just subconsciously exclaiming like this question. This is the Namek of the past, once shining brightly for a while. When she turned her head, she noticed that Slug was standing beside her, looking down at the ancient city below. This is the old Namek. Yeah, and only part of it, but it's so old that I don't know the exact name of this place, but... He did not go on. Bulma didn't ask any further questions, she looked at the city under her feet. It's a huge and weird building. It can't be said when it was built. In short, it's strange and unknown. It's like a bloodbath. Especially the star object above it. It can't be said that it is made of any material, it is like an eye, and it is like a living creature. As long as it is given enough energy, it can come back to life immediately. What's even more weird is that there is still the sound of gurgling water coming from here. This is... Bulma's heart was full of all kinds of questions, and she didn't want to travel such a long road by herself, and finally reached such a strange place. Where is it? After listening carefully, the sound of the water seemed to come from the spherical object, and the more certain it was, the more bizarre it was. Everything looks so abnormal. This huge lowland city is buried in yellow sand. This strange building doesn't look like a dwelling for its residents at all. However, this is only a corner of iceberg. Something bigger is still deep in the city. In the middle, a huge shadow stands there, like a lofty mountain, like a pagoda in the waves. Where it stands, a moving, revealing majesty, revealing incomparable spirit. Even after thousands of years, this kind of momentum does not seem to fade at all. This is what Namek looked like in the past. This is the civilization of these green-skinned stars before the fall. But now it has become an underground city. No one knows and no one cares about it. If it wasn't for Slug to come here, I'm afraid this place will never be revealed. This is from an ancient city in the past, and it must be hiding many secrets. Maybe there is treasure. Thinking of this, the taste of adventure flooded into Bulma's heart. At the same time, she also seemed to be summoned by some kind of call. Her heart kept beating. It's like there's a voice in the body guiding, and in the corner where she couldn't see the Tao, a pair of scarlet eyes were staring at her. And these eyes have appeared more than once before. Now it's making several more appearances, and every time it looks at Walmart with those eyes, there's an unbearable heat and excitement about her. It's like some kind of hypnosis, making people make choices that go against their own intentions, but they can't see the way. By the way, after staring at the light, she suddenly realized that there was a luminous circular object in the sky above the dome, wrapped in sand, but still the light was shining, even illuminating it all here, and then carefully. At a glance, there was a thin object connecting the ground below the glowing object, and she couldn't see the situation further down. Come on, let's go down and have a look. Go down. How are we going to go down? Looking at this height, I might fall to death. But Slug ignored it, grabbed Bulma's collar directly, and jumped. Like a ferocious eagle catching a white rabbit. In the original quiet environment, only a long, harsh scream was heard across the sky. What? After a brief, terrifying free fall, they reached the ground safely. Bulma broke free, her cheeks flushed a little crimson, she tidied up her clothes, and said, "Don't say hello, really." Slug didn't understand these sentiments, or he didn't pay attention to it at all. After all, the Nameks were parthenogenetic. If you don't want to move around, just stay here, I'm going to take a look inside. As he said that, he stepped forward and walked in. Bulma really didn't want to follow him that much, but since he came here, there is no reason not to go here to find out, otherwise he would be worthy of his curiosity. Who said I didn't want to go in? Then hurry up and follow. Slug seemed to have changed his personality, and he didn't appreciate it at all. Helpless, Bulma followed. There are strange patterns everywhere on the ground, it is impossible to say how strange. But she didn't have time to ask, because Slug seemed to have a purpose and was heading in a certain direction. Bulma followed him, and gradually their figures disappeared into the ancient city. I don't know how long it took, and Slug finally stopped at one place. That's it. Bulma gasped, just about to complain but was attracted by what was in front of her. It was a huge stone tablet with patterns engraved on it. Upon closer inspection, the patterns were all incomprehensible characters. Slug looked at the stone tablet and became more and more ecstatic. But it was filled with Namek's language, and Bulma couldn't understand it. What is this? Slug laughed. The secret of everything is the end of everything. Secret, end. For such words, Bulma is really confused, and traveled so long, just for this stone tablet. No wonder Slug didn't care much, because Bulma couldn't understand what was on it. Slug added, yes, everything about this world. In the otherworld space, Qin is playing a game with Aizen leisurely. It seems that time is not so important to him, this is the real gluttony. Countless hours let them pass by, but I didn't care at all. But suddenly, a strangeness suddenly appeared in Qin Yang's heart. He originally thought it was just some waves in his thoughts, but he was wrong, this anomaly is not ordinary. Unlike the soul, Qin Yang's thoughts were suddenly pulled down by some external force to another world. It was like a trap, and when he fell into it, Qin Yang realized that it was too late. But it's not that there is no way out, it's just that curiosity suddenly outstrips vigilance, and Qin Yang wonders what is pulling him quietly. Outside, his people were motionless. Aizen noticed something abnormal and suddenly became vigilant. But Qin Yang's pulse and breath were all normal, but he was helpless about such matters. As for Qin Yang himself, it was like a dream. Chapter 1010 let them be the bait. Lan Ran looked at Qin Yang. He knew that such huge changes were taking place in the world now, but Qin Yang didn't seem to care at all, not even the most basic of continuing to implement his plan. He is very curious. After all, this kind of thing can't be done according to the natural development. Sometimes, When new characters appear, the timeline of the world will change. What's the matter? Didn't you think I could easily play with you here? Qin Yang smiled. Yes, after all, Frieza is about to find Dragon Ball. At that time, there should be a big battle. If according to your plan, you are going to find mysterious energy in this world, but now it seems, you don't seem to care anymore. Aizen looked at him suspiciously. This kind of thing can't come in a hurry, you know. Unless I jump in time, but I don't want to leave this world so quickly, because I seem to have discovered some interesting things in this world. Qin Yang Hihi Isho snapped his fingers. Then, Bulma's appearance appeared in front of the two of them. Qin Yang said playfully, it seems that there are things in this world that we don't know. After all, the world of Dragon Ball is a whole, but what we see in the anime, it's just a straight line plot. So what? Aizen was a little curious, what did this explain? So in fact, what we see is not all in the Dragon Ball world. It seems that, next, there are many possibilities for Bulma, not just according to the plot, especially now that the plot of the characters is already messed up, although the main line is still preserved, but the branch line. Qin Yang looked at the picture on the screen. I still don't understand, isn't your purpose to find mysterious energy? Now the whole situation has been opened, Frieza has appeared, and Wukong has also started training. According to reason, a battle is inevitable. Aizen also has some understanding of the world of Dragon Ball. After all, Qin Yang has already made up for him during this period of time. Yeah, their first battle is inevitable, but you have to know that the people who should die are still there. The plot is not so simple, and the time of the battle is prolonged or early. We have no way to know. Namek Planet. The situation became more and more complicated, especially after I found out that there seemed to be traversers who came to this world. Qin Yang thought of Dr. Gero's memory, the man wearing a mask. If there is no accident, the traveler also came to this planet to find mysterious energy, but he was able to travel to this place himself, which means that the mysterious energy in this Dragon Ball world is still there. Ming. Then where did the problem occur? The transmigrator must be powerful, but he didn't get the mysterious energy, which made him very mindful. So he has to wait for that. A black hand stretches out, at least a little bit. Juya is now in a space, and that space, he has not sensed it until now, that is to say, maybe the place where Juya is the space where the black hand is. And what that black hand wants to do, then I don't know. There should be some changes in Nabal's life, and Qin Yang can't predict what his trajectory will eventually become. I understand, but now if you use Frieza and the others as bait, there should be no way to lure that black hand out, and he seems to know about you. Nabal and Juyi are the best proofs. Lan Ran looked at Qin Yang indifferently. Yes, this is the worst thing. In this world, I think I should be invincible. Even the King of Quan is not too troublesome for me, but that black hand, the one who never the people I meet are the ones that make me jealous. Qin Yang said directly. He didn't know what the final outcome of that transmigrator was, but the only thing he could guess was that the outcome would definitely not be very good. Or they have already died. After all, when they come to these worlds, there will always be some dangers, and the dangers he encountered before are not dangerous. So this is going to start from this world, and there will be some people who stand in his way of going. If so, it's really annoying. Well, if there is anything I need to do, you can say that, although in your eyes, my strength is weak, but in this place, I think my strength can still be regarded as strong. Lan Dai nodded. I know, but now I just need to wait for that hand to come out. I think, I have dragged the whole plot to the present, and the people who should have died are still alive, and even in the future, there may be the whole main line has an impact, so I think he will come out. Qin Yang shook his head and said. Then just wait. Aizen squinted and smiled. On that screen, Slug was looking at the introduction to the inscription about this world with a serious face, and his expression became more and more solemn. After he had read all the inscriptions, he looked at Bulma. Do you believe it? The world will eventually be destroyed. Slug's eyes exuded fear. He didn't want to say it, but now there is no way not to say it. Because he needed someone to share his pressure. The inscriptions he saw told the beginning of the universe and predicted the destruction of the world. How is it possible? How can our world be destroyed? You must know that this universe is very huge, and it's too big. Of course Bulma didn't believe it. But the inscription above has been written, and the things predicted on the inscription have been confirmed, and I know it. Slug's voice trembled. He knows that this is a very terrifying thing. If this news is sent to all creatures in the universe, the entire universe will be confused. I think the things on these steles must be scribbled. If not, how could it be possible to predict the future? No matter what, it's impossible, right? Bulma shook her head. That's not necessarily true. I met a person when I was traveling. That person was wearing a mask. I met him when I was traveling in Gao Nuoxing. His voice was very hoarse and stopped me. After that, they gave me predictions, and finally predicted my fate for hundreds of years. Slug said with some fear. Chapter 1011-Black Hand. So what? Is everything he said right? Bulma asked curiously. Yes, what he predicted was right. Slug nodded, then he pointed to the stone tablet and said, he once said that I would see a stone tablet about the destruction of the world, and at this time, I am being watched. Qin Yang, who was playing against Aizen, frowned and listened carefully to what Slug said. He felt that the latter words were very important. He said, at this time, someone will be watching me. Slug looked at Bulma, then shook his head. I thought it was you, but then I think about it, the monitoring he said is something we don't know. Place, monitoring our every move here. Quote. It's interesting, it's really interesting. Qin Yang smiled directly. He really didn't expect that at this time, someone could predict him, and even give him the information about monitoring Bulma. Said it. It seems that he is getting closer and closer to the truth. When he first entered this Dragon Ball world, he knew that the next thing would not be so smooth, but he never thought that someone would be able to predict him. This is something Qin Yang didn't even expect. He really didn't expect his existence to be predicted by others. He wanted to continue listening. So, if someone is testing us at this time, where are they, or where is he? This matter should also be figured out. Bulma said curiously. I don't know about this either, but he told me that if it's this time, he'll have to tell that person something. Slug looked at Bulma, and then at the hole. Said, the man who watched us, did you hear? The man who predicted asked me to tell you that he is waiting for you, if you can find him. It seems that what you said is not wrong. In this world, someone really knows about you, and they are already waiting for you. I really didn't expect this kind of thing to happen. I thought it was yours. It's been smooth sailing all my life, but that doesn't seem to be the case now. Lan Ran smiled, which he was very curious about. Who is so powerful that he came to this place before Qin Yang? Yes, it seems that after we came to this world, there should be no way to go so smoothly, but no matter what, I think you still have your own plans, don't you? Aizen said with a smile. Of course yes, if I didn't even have a plan at all, then I would have died in another world, and there was no way I could come to this world, and my strength would never be like this. Qin Yang said confidently, a kind of confidence that comes from his own strength. No matter what it is, let's go. I always have to go out and see what that person wants. Since Slug has already said something like this, isn't it just to make me appear? Qin Yang stand up. What's the matter, are we going to show up like this? Aizen was a little curious. If you don't show up at this time, you'll be at a disadvantage. It's better to go out in an upright manner. I would like to know what kind of skills people have in this world who have been in this world for so long. Qin Yang said calmly. This kind of thing really needs to be seen. The figures of the two of them soon came directly to Bulma and Slug's side, and Slug was of course shocked, and he really didn't know where the two appeared from. You, who are you? Slug asked directly. Do I need to say this? Didn't you always talk to me just now? Qin Yang squinted and smiled. You guys, are you the people who watched me as the prophet said? Slug's eyes widened. He really never thought that he was really being watched, and this person who watched himself people also appear in front of themselves and say these words to themselves. Don't be nervous, I didn't come to see you. I think since he said that, he already knew that I would appear, so come out. Qin squinted and looked at Slug. He entered this place at the time. I felt that there was a special aura about this person. Slug didn't know what Qin was talking about, but he knew that these people were very powerful. Even if he felt the breath of Qin body, he already knew it. So he didn't dare to mess around, but he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. That is, Qin didn't show any ill will towards them. Bulma watched from the side, curious. Who is this person? You don't need to be nervous. You just continue to do your things. I just want to chat with that prophet. No need to hide. I already feel your breath, but if you still feel that you are in this silo, useful words to hide on the body. Qin said indifferently. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. You really appeared. A black shadow appeared behind Slug. This shadow was very blurry and seemed to be likely to dissipate at any time. But Ying didn't seem to be worried about this at all, so he was very proud, looked at Qin and said, I can predict, but you also know that these plots can be changed at any time. This is, I think you already know, even if you kill Sun Wukong, then the world will collapse directly, won't it? After Ying finished speaking, Qin nodded. Sure enough, you came from another world into this world, but I really want to ask, since you have been in this world for so long, the task that should be completed is estimated to have been completed, so why stay here? Quote. This is not up to me, this is up to that damn fate. My mission has long been impossible to complete, and in this place, in this place, there is a terrifying existence, so if you want to get out of this world, I think you should think for yourself, how to deal with this person. After Sombra finished speaking, he immediately said haha Isho, and then shook his head. Chapter 1012-Goku hasn't grown up. Ying said, unfortunately, that person's strength is not something you can deal with, at least your current strength is useless in my opinion. I feel your strength, 7-star, that's still bad a lot. Ying knows even these things, and Qin doesn't need to say anything. He knows all these things. If he knows all these things, then this black shadow also knows about the other things about them. But since it is a traverser, it is naturally the case. It's just that you can't complete the task yourself, but I'm different. I've experienced so many worlds along the way, and I must be more experienced than you at this point. Moreover, my strength is really not. You are so vulnerable. Of course Qin would not show weakness. After all, at this time, he doesn't know whether the opponent is an enemy or a friend, so it's better to hide it. Whatever you want, I've already said it here anyway. Whether you want to listen to it is up to you. Anyway, if you think your own strength is very strong, you can try it, but if it's a small life, don't blame me. After Sombra finished speaking, he gradually disappeared. Qin showed a confident smile. Then just watch, if you are still in this world, but I think since your soul is already possessed by this slug, you want to come to yourself. Is his body already gone? Ying seemed to be a little emotional, but he recovered quickly. His eyes were empty, like an abyss, but from here, Qin still felt suffocating. It seems that I really said it, but it doesn't matter, then you can attach yourself to Slug. I don't think this is necessarily a good thing for you. After all, you are still alive. Qin hee Isho. Okay, then I'll wait and see. After the black shadow finished speaking, he disappeared completely, and at this time, Qin shrugged directly, and then looked at Aizen. Aizen is also VV Isho, and said very calmly, so it is, he is already a failed traverser, so it seems that there is no threat to you, you just need to find the Black Hand. Yes, as long as the Black Hand is found, there is nothing wrong, but I still have to think about it a little bit. Where is the Black Hand? After all, if it is in this world, I will definitely be able to find the breath of Juya. Yes, but now the 9 masters have disappeared. Qin analyzed that Juya is his subordinate, and he brought it from another world. He can feel this aura even at the end of this world, but unfortunately, it seems that this time he is not felt. There is only one possibility here, and that is that Juyi is no longer in this dimension. After all, you must know that this world is divided into many dimensions. Or some spatial differences. Or like himself, he can open up a space independently, so if you want to know what space Juyi is in, it is really a bit troublesome. Then what are we going to do now? Continue to look for Juya and the others. But I think this matter is still relatively difficult. Aizen shrugged and put forward his own opinion, but his opinion was actually not use. Because Qin Yang is a very assertive person, Qin Yang will think for himself and make his own decisions. To be honest, they are just some of Qin Yang's subordinates, who are just used to run errands. But he knew that there was no way he could not do it, because this person was so powerful that he didn't know what to say. Forget it, it's useless to think so much now. There are no clues. No matter what it is, I always have to wait for Juyi to contact us again. Qin Yang said directly with a smile. On Frieza's side, are you sure you let them develop? Aizen asked. This is what I really want to let them develop. Anyway, there is no problem with the main line unchanged. I have already asked the ghost to train Sun Wukong in the past. If there is no accident, Sun Wukong will be able to change in a few years. As for the first form, I don't know. Qin Yang said directly with a smile. You are relatively relaxed, but I think that even if Sun Wukong is very powerful, he is not necessarily the person you are looking for. Aizen said suddenly. I have also thought about this, whether there is a mysterious power in him, or whether he is the core of that mysterious power. I still have no way to determine this, but you must know, if you don't let him get up, I didn't even have a chance to try. Qin Yang sighed, and then looked at the planet. At this time, Slug and Bulma were still looking at Qin Yang in shock. Hearing what the two of them said, in the clouds and fog, I don't know what Qin Yang and the others are talking about, but they don't care about it anymore. They only care about whether they will be killed by two people, and just by looking at their appearance, they know that they are very skilled people. So they were frightened and prayed in their hearts. So it's better to leave here now. After all, this place has no value. Namek was once very prosperous. Qin Yang said directly with a smile. It's a pity, now that the Namekians are already in decline, or even extinct. This is the law of the universe, it is right to have life and death. Qin Yang smiled, then disappeared directly into this place with Aizen and returned to his own space. Then there was a smile on his face. When he got a little tea, he looked at Aizen and said, now just wait for the following plot to continue to develop. On the other side, Sun Wukong looked at the ghost. At this time, he no longer dared to despise the ghost, because he found that the strength of the ghost was unpredictable. So you only have such a little strength now. I can tell you completely, if you only have such strength, you can't promise Frieza. Of course, those androids are not for you to fight. The strength of number 16 is much stronger than you. The ghost said directly. What the hell are you talking about? Sun Wukong looked at the ghost with curiosity. Because he had never heard of what the ghost said, but it didn't seem like he was joking when he saw the ghost, so he just looked at this person curiously and didn't speak. Chapter 1013-Shadows Training. Those are all your future enemies, as well as Sharu, and all kinds of enemies waiting for you to kill, but your current strength is still too slow. Because of our appearance, time is constantly pushing before, your current strength is already very weak, in front of Frieza, and the next thing you have to do is to go to the Namekians and kill Frieza. Quote. The ghost said a story, but in fact Wukong still doesn't know it. After all, Wukong's heart is still a little pure. He doesn't know what he is going to do at all, because now it is about peace. Forget it, you won't understand it anyway, but you must know that at this time, if you don't practice hard, then your friends, Bulma, Xiaolin, and Vegeta, will all be affected by you or weak and die. The shadow said indifferently. After these words came out, Sun Wukong had a serious look on his face. Of course he didn't want such a thing to happen, so he nodded and said, if that's the case, it seems that I still have to work hard. Yes, and I came here this time to help you improve your strength, otherwise, with the strength of the people on Frieza's side now, even if you practice 100 times the gravity, you are not necessarily a Felix. Lisa's opponent, not to mention because Dr. Gero has already released number 16, so if you go to Namek, you will face 2 enemies. The only thing the ghost told Sun Wukong was this, and he himself had been holding back for a long time. After he heard it from Qin Yang, he always knew these plots by himself, but now he has told these plots. Sun Wukong's words, even Sun Wukong still don't know what he is going to say. But it was enough, he just said it. Mo Ying smiled and saw that Sun Wukong was starting to do push-ups, so he snapped his fingers and said, "If you are doing ordinary cultivation, it will definitely not work. I will give it to you. You increase the difficulty, I will play against you. As long as you can let me use both hands, you will win." Quote. The shadow is very confident, and now Sun Wukong is just a Saiyan who has not yet grown up, without any threat. Sun Wukong looked at his fists, then got a little worried. He said, "Just let you use 2 hands. Since that is the case, I think you are really very confident, but my strength is but it's very powerful, so if you decide to fight me, I advise you to come prepared. Stop talking nonsense. You are in this state and strength. You are not my opponent at all. I don't even want to play against someone with strength like you." The ghost waved his hand indifferently. "Then you'll be optimistic." After Sun Wukong finished speaking, his figure flashed and appeared in front of the ghost, and then he punched out. It's just a pity, he just hit an empty place. The ghost has already moved behind him, and then kicked out. He kicked Sun Wukong into the air. But this is in a dream, so the world is still relatively wide. Sun Wukong rubbed the place where he was kicked, then shouted loudly, and rushed up again. It's just that the ghost didn't hold back at all this time. It flashed over Sun Wukong, kicked Wukong to the ground with 1 foot, and smashed the ground out of huge potholes. Wukong was shocked. He didn't know what happened at all. He only felt that when he attacked, his back was kicked. He has been kicked twice, and the most important thing is that when these 2 feet came down, he didn't even touch the corner of the ghost's clothes, let alone let the ghost's hands out. I said, don't underestimate me. Also, if you don't use all your strength, you can't fight against me, and you can't even see my figure. The ghost looked disdainfully. With Sun Wukong, he wants to let Sun Wukong use the most powerful strength to fight against himself. It's not just for fun. In this case, how could it be possible to cultivate, and how could it be possible to improve one's strength in such a short period of time? So now I don't know what it is, but no matter what it is, he also knows that Goku will not really fight against his friends. It was because of this that he did not dare to use his full strength. The shadows kept moving, so that Sun Wukong couldn't even see his figure clearly, he just kept seeing the afterimages. This is my strength. If you use all your strength, there is absolutely no way to fight against me, you know. Said the shadow very unhappy. Ha ha ha, okay, then I'll let you know how good I am, but if I use all my strength, I may not be able to hold it, so if I accidentally hurt you, I will first say sorry to you. Sun Wukong said after finishing. He directly clenched his fists, and then shouted loudly. The chi in his body continued to rise. Finally, the ghosts are stopped. That's right, if it was like that just now, it would be like playing a house. After the ghost finished speaking, he attached a hand to the back and rushed up. This time, Sun Wukong was able to take the move. The fists of the 2 slammed together, a storm rippling, the ground cracked, and countless stones and land were thrown behind the 2. With the 2 at the center, they fell into a huge pothole. It can be seen how powerful the 2 are. Sure enough, you need this kind of strength to make you stronger. The magic shadow Hihi Isho, and then rushed up again. It's the same sentence. As long as you ask me to take out my hands, then you can leave your sleep, so you can continue to work hard. Shadow Haha Isho. Don't worry, it won't take long. My friends are still waiting for me to go back, so are my wife and son, so no matter what, I'm going to beat you now. After Wukong finished speaking, he again rushed up. Of course, the ghost is not allowed at all. After all, his strength is already enough to make Wukong feel that his life is in great danger. Of course, the ghost is useless to his full strength. If he uses his full strength, his fighting style is definitely not like this. To know that the way the ghosts fight is more of a conspiracy theory than a face-to-face like this. Forget it, no matter what, I have already completed the task of the master, and I have to raise the strength of Sun Wukong to a higher level. Chapter 1014-Breath of Darkness. This is what the ghost is going to do now. He knows, no matter what, Qin Yang's task still has to be taken over, otherwise Qin Yang will probably talk about himself again. And the most important thing is that he can't live with his own face. If there is no way to complete his task, how can he say that he is also a ghost, a person whose strength is so powerful that it makes people tremble? He looked at Sun Wukong, who was constantly making moves, with a smile on his face, and said, "You don't have much time, because Frieza has already gone to planet Namek, and he will find 7 Dragon Balls, so if you don't hurry up, there may be no way to save your comrade." Sun Wukong quickly gritted his teeth, increased his strength, and then said, "Since this is the case, I'm welcome." After speaking, he directly increased his strength again. Ghost is He Isho, and he is no longer clumsy. Although he uses one hand, if he uses his full strength, Sun Wukong will not be able to fight against himself if he does not break through. In this dream, the chance for the two to fight is to destroy the planet, and the overwhelming aura of destruction is constantly filling Sun Wukong's dream. On the other hand, Sun Wukong found that even though he had used his full strength, he actually found that he couldn't make the ghost use 2 hands, which means that the ghost's strength was actually stronger than his. Much stronger. There is still such a powerful person in this world, it's just terrifying. Sun Wukong looked cautious. After all, he knew that there was such a person in the real world, so in fact, he knew, if it was encounter such an enemy in reality. He has no resistance at all, even in the face of Vegeta, he is not as powerless as he is now. Even if he met Vegeta, he felt that he had the power to fight, but if it was a ghost, he really had no way to defeat it. This is his own perception. He knows that the strength of the ghost is not only these, but it is not revealed. What's the matter? You are still distracted in the battle now, I think you don't want to improve your strength. The ghost said that Sun Wukong was distracted, and suddenly said unhappy. 3 times King Fist. Monkey King listened, and stopped thinking too much. Although he didn't know whether it was an enemy or a friend, at least he knew that this ghost was training himself to improve his strength. If that's the case, it shouldn't be a bad guy. His thinking is relatively simple, knowing that no matter how you say this kind of thing, it has already happened, and there are indeed such people in this world. Oh. If he is only afraid of his strength, then he has no way to protect the earth if this person wants to destroy the earth. So as long as you improve your own strength is the most important thing. He smiled and said, "Okay, now I'm going to start to use all my strength, so be careful." After Sun Wukong finished speaking, he rushed up at a faster speed and fought with the ghost again. But even with the Triple World King Fist, there was still no way for the ghost to stretch out his other hand, so he was very shocked in his heart. Unless he used his vitality, he wouldn't be sure to let the ghost use both hands. So, your attack method is still a bit too rough. Sometimes, you can't always rely on brute force in combat. If you rely on brute force, you really have no way to fight against some powerful enemies. Fighting, especially some enemies who are good at confrontation, you know. The ghost taught a lesson. After saying this, there was a smile on his face, and he was still very confident in this battle. At least Sun Wukong's current strength is not enough for him to show his full strength. When Sun Wukong can really become the first stage of Super Saiyan, that's when he stretches out his hands. Of course he will not be arrogant. After all, Qin Yang has also said that if Sun Wukong becomes a Super Saiyan, his strength will be increased dozens of times. With only one hand, it is absolutely impossible to beat Sun Wukong. So the ghost knows what's going on now, and now he can do it with ease, just because Sun Wukong still hasn't strengthened his strength. If he can strengthen his strength, then there is no need to say, after all, Sun Wukong is this world. The protagonist, just like himself. They are also the overlords of one world. Under such circumstances, their peak strengths are comparable. But if it is Qin Yang's words, he is also a little cold in his heart. After all, he knows that Qin Yang's strength is unfathomable, and they, the overlords of the world, were eventually subdued directly by Qin Yang. And after following Qin Yang for so long, he never saw Qin Yang's real shot. All he saw was crushing in all forms, no matter what. There is no need to talk about confrontation head-on, but if he is playing with conspiracy, Qin Yang's eyes are even more frightening, as if he can see through some hypocrisy. Thinking of this, he still felt that he had to speed up, otherwise, if Qin Yang felt that the task on his side was slow, he would definitely not bypass him. At this time, Qin Yang was already in his own space, with his eyes closed, as if he was thinking about something. Of course, Lan Ran didn't bother Qin Yang, but just took something to eat. These things are created out of thin air, but they are real. This kind of ability, like the creator, even he or anyone in the world of death, will not have it. For Aizen, this is God, this is the real God. I found it. It really didn't take much effort. Qin Yang suddenly opened his eyes and smiled, but Lan Ran was a little curious and asked, "What did you find?" "The breath of that shadow has finally been found, the planets he has been to." Qin Yang ha isho, he wants to see what happened to the former traveler in this world. Let him directly is dead in this world, and there is no way to go further. "Then you want to go and see?" Aizen asked. "Well, I always have to know exactly what kind of strength my enemy is. Otherwise, if I don't even know what the enemy's strength is, I will always be a little flustered. Although I think my strength is strong, I can't be arrogant." "You say yes." Qin Yang he isho. Chapter 1015_Mirror Restore. Then it appeared directly on a planet. This planet is full of poor people. They are yellow and thin, and their faces are mentally exhausted. It seems that the reason is too much work, or there is something in this planet that makes them become that's it. But no matter what it is, Qin Yang has no feelings for these people. Of course, he will not liberate this planet like Sun Wukong. Yimajia Huoxing, it seems that the people here are still living in dire straits, but it's none of my business. I'd better go and see what the shadow has done since he came to this planet. Qin Yang looking at a tower in the distance, the breath of the shadow he felt was on that tower, that is to say, the shadow attached to Slug had once stayed on this tower. Lan Ran was by Qin Yang's side with a smile on his face, and followed Qin Yang slowly forward. The entrance to the tower was protected by several Dang Jiya's subordinates. When Qin Yang and the others came to this door, a few soldiers were stunned when they saw the two of them looking so good. Then they reacted immediately, pointed at Qin Yang and said loudly, "Bastards, are you being lazy? Otherwise why do you still have so much strength?" Qin Yang looked at Lan Ran, while Lan Ran nodded and disappeared. When he reappeared, several soldiers stared wide-eyed and were very painful. Bone erosion is the most painful, and it's very good for you to experience it. Aizen smiled after saying that. These soldiers are too weak, and even make him uninterested, but it doesn't matter. Yes, anyway, I just did what Qin Yang said. Seeing that these soldiers were already like this, Qin Yang suddenly looked helpless and said, "People in this world want to shout and drink when they have a little power. This rule has never changed." After speaking, he walked forward, but he didn't say anything. Soon, he and Aizen came to this tower, and after reaching the highest floor, he found that the breath here is the most intense. "Look. I came to Sombra because I have been in this place for a long time. Forget it, no matter what, I'll just do my own thing. No matter what it is, it's the same now. I don't need to say anything about other things." Qin Yang said of course. He stretched out one hand, and then there were some images of the dark shadow staying in this place, only to see the dark shadow after coming to this place. It turned out to be in this place to feel the mysterious energy. Is there any news that this planet has mysterious powers? Otherwise, just such a planet is completely unworthy of attention. Qin Yang suddenly looked at the shadow with curiosity. Sure enough, it's here, it's definitely here. He Ying snapped his fingers with a look of joy, and a container appeared in his hand. Well, it's interesting. There is also a container for collecting mysterious power. I don't seem to have this thing. Qin Yang pressed his chin. Although he can create a lot of things, it does not include things related to mysterious power. As long as it involves those mysterious energy, he has no way to create it. He once wanted to create a machine that can analyze mysterious energy, but when he really started to implement his plan, he found that as long as it involved when it comes to mysterious energy, his mind will be blank. Just don't know what to say. But even so, he didn't give up. Where did he get this container? Qin Yang thought for a while, looked at the shadow, and saw the shadow suddenly put the container away. Then he turned his head to look at the door, and asked with a sullen look, "Who?" Of course Qin Yang turned his head over, but the person he saw was completely blank, and he couldn't see clearly at all. No, it should be said that with his current strength, there is no way to give the image of this person to him. Displayed. You don't need to know who I am, you just need to know that if you want to destroy this world, then I must let you stay in this world. This was a very strong voice, so Qin Yang knew that this was a man. Strength? What kind of strength is he? Qin Yang was very shocked and concerned about this. Although his own ability is unable to show his image, it has already explained a lot of problems, such as said that the strength of the other party is above their own. But even so, he still wanted to know the strength of the other party. He always thought that in this world, the strength of King Quan was the most powerful, but now I know that, no, it's just that this person has always been he didn't appear in the plot, so no one knew about him. If that's the case, then go to die. The shadow said loudly, and then punched out, so the time was forbidden, countless cracks spread directly, and the planet fell apart in an instant. Not only in this way, these cracks spread throughout the galaxy, destroying a galaxy with just one punch. Qin Yang was a little shocked by this kind of power. Of course he could do such a thing, even more powerful, but in fact, he was shocked that even in the face of such an attack, he couldn't see clearly. People, but just casually waved it lightly. All the attacks were gone, and the shadow didn't even show any signs. His eyes were bulging, and the fists in his hands were weak. How is this possible? He Ying was shocked. He couldn't imagine that he had lost all his offensive abilities. In this world, no matter what you encounter, you don't need to worry, because he will recover. For example, this one. The person who couldn't see Qin Yang waved his hand again. The shattered galaxy returned to the situation where Sombra didn't make a move. This kind of thing made Sui Ying look shocked, and he didn't know how this person did it. He opened his mouth, nothing came out. There was really no way to say anything. However, this person does not seem to intend to kill the shadow, but said, "I know you are from other worlds. I can't even change the power of this rule. If it is possible, I don't even want to let it. You come in, but I can't shake that mysterious rule." Chapter 1016 _ The real enemy of this world. After he finished speaking, he looked outside and continued, "But I can't shake the rules, but I can eliminate you people from the outside world." After speaking, he immediately looked at the shadow with a smile on his face. "Ha ha ha, I admit that your strength is very powerful, but don't underestimate me. I am the most powerful person in this world. I came from other worlds, the protagonists in other worlds. Still there are the strongest people who are not my opponents. How could you come to this world and say you can kill me?" Sombra was very disdainful. After all, he has never met these arrogant people. Even the most powerful people in the world he has experienced can only bow their heads in front of him. Their existence is to make these protagonists, or it was the other most powerful people in these worlds who learned some lessons. He looked at the person opposite him with a smile on his face, and said, "But no matter what it is, you know that if I fight you, the world may cease to exist, so if it is possible I still think we should make peace, don't I?" "I'm sorry, I don't accept peace. I'm here to kill you. If it's for peace, I don't need to do it myself. I know your strength is 6-star, and you are almost going to break through the 7-star rating, but in my eyes, you are really nothing, you know." The man looked at the shadow indifferently. "Okay, since that's the case, I'll let you know how stupid you are. Even the most powerful people don't dare to speak like this when they see me. The people who came in the future told me this, but I know something, you guys have changed the rules, right? Somiko sighed. You are right, now I am an independent individual, let's not talk about this. I looked at the world, even if the world has become like this, it is still very beautiful, so no matter what, how is it, I think it is necessary for you to stay in this world, so that it will not stop our plan. After the man finished speaking, he stretched out a hand. Before Sombra could react, he directly grabbed Sombra's head, and after a slight tug, saw Sombra in great pain. He screamed in agony, and then fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. He didn't expect to die like this, and he couldn't even struggle. And this shadow is almost close to a 7-star person. Such a master can be said to be able to traverse in any world, but I didn't expect such a thing to happen in the world of Dragon Ball. No, since that's the case, I think I have to take a good approach. After all, in this way, that person seems to be disdainful of even 7-star people, and I am now in 7-star inside, so in this way his reality is still above me. Qin Yang said helplessly. After all, there is no way to say anything about these things. He knows that there is someone stronger than him in this Dragon Ball world, so at this time he has to be careful. But don't get bogged down in this Dragon Ball, or you'll be finished. So what are we going to do now? Aizen asked curiously. I don't know about this, but I want to see where this shadow has been. There should have been mysterious energy in this planet, but I don't know why, but now it has disappeared, maybe it was transferred by someone, that person. Qin Yang said directly. I know this, but no matter what, I think you should be careful about everything, because if he is stronger than you, then he will find you. Before Lan Ran finished speaking, Qin Yang just grabbed Aizen and entered the space he created. Not long after they left, a person appeared at the place where Qin Yang was just now, with a frown on his face, and then said, I didn't expect them to run away. It seems that there is another traveler in this world, but the above people let me come into this world, isn't it just to kill them? Forget it, keep looking, anyway, if they can't get the mysterious energy, they can't leave this world. After he finished speaking, he directly felt the aura of this place. This was the disappearance. He knew that since he had already felt this aura, when this aura reappeared in the world of Dragon Ball, he would know right away. It seems that you can't escape, ha ha ha, it's a pity. In Qin Yang's own space, a little perspiration appeared on Qin Yang's forehead and said, it's dangerous, if it wasn't for my perception being different from ordinary people, then I really couldn't feel the person who came just now. I think we have already been discovered in the world of Dragon Ball. Looks like it's that person. Aizen nodded. Yes, it is not suitable to fight against him during this period of time, because my strength is still unable to reach that level, but just give me a little time. If I absorb the mysterious energy of this Dragon Ball world, then it can be a battle with him. At least there is no need to worry about him. I don't believe that he is still a 9-star person. This is impossible. If a 9-star person appears, even my perception, no matter how powerful it is absolutely impossible to escape. Quote. Qin Yang analyzed that the fact that he was able to escape this time means that this person cannot be a 9-star, at most 8-star, and he is now a 7-star, and he wants to play against an 8-star master, but he is still you need to improve your strength a bit. So when he felt this enemy, he just left, because he knew that even if he added Aizen, he would definitely not be the opponent's opponent. Even Aizen is not suitable for participating in the battle of these traversers, because Aizen's strength is useless when they fight seriously. It's like the ants under the feet of 2 elephants fighting. Some of the more common things can be handled by Aizen. Chapter 1017-Vulnerability and Being Tracked. But at this time, naturally they won't be allowed to participate. This is common sense. I didn't expect that person to be so terrifying. Aizen shook his head and said. It doesn't matter, I already know his strength now. No matter what it is, I will let him know that I am powerful. He wants to kill me, and after a while, I will consider whether to kill him or not. It's gone. Qin Yang didn't worry about that at all. The enemy in the dark is terrifying, but the enemy exposed in his sight is nothing to be afraid of, even if this enemy is very powerful. But as long as he is alive, there is a possibility of defeating him. But if this person knows what you think, it means that he already knows that you are looking for mysterious energy. If he directly transfers the mysterious energy to a place where he can see it, then, if you want to absorb those mysterious energies, it will be a very difficult thing. Eisen was a little worried. Don't worry, you know, this kind of thing is so simple, as long as you use some small tricks. I don't need much time to absorb the mysterious energy, and I don't want to absorb all the mysterious energy, I only need to absorb part of it to successfully become an 8-star person. Qin Yang smiled directly. And this kind of words made Eisen nodded and said, since this is the case, that is to say, he did not expect that you can absorb the energy of the Saiyan to achieve the same effect of absorbing the mysterious energy. Qin Yang smiled and said, in fact, even if he received the mysterious energy to the other side, in fact, the mysterious energy will still overflow, and this overflowing energy is what makes them Super Saiyan, but he does not. It's good to know that. What's that like? Lan Ran looked at Qin Yang. He knew that now that person should have sensed Qin Yang's breath. It is impossible for Qin Yang to appear in the world of Dragon Ball, because in this world, that person must have known Qin Yang's breath. If Qin Yang really appeared outside, he would definitely be discovered, so this kind of thing just doesn't know what to say. He knows, and now he wants to let him absorb the breath of Super Saiyan. They must have brought those Super Saiyans back. Anyway, it means that Qin Yang can only stay in this space and wait until he can directly upgrade to 8 stars before appearing. And when it appears, it's time for a showdown with that person. So I don't know how to decide. In fact, Qin Yang knows that there is no way to say anything about this kind of thing. His only choice now is to think the same as Lan Ran. He looked at his own space. At this time, there were only a few people in his own space. Itachi, Vegeta, Eisen and himself, and the others had already gone out to do things according to their own ideas. On Dr. Gro's side, after all, the humanoid thing should be paid attention to. After all, if this kind of thing is not done well, it is still prone to some problems. So whatever it is, you have to take care of it, and no matter what, you really don't know what those artificial humans are going to be like. At least it will definitely not develop all the way according to their own ideas. It may affect his entire layout. Now the plot is about to fight Frieza. If there is any problem at this time, I don't know what to say. Maybe the protagonist Sun Wukong will die directly. Not sure. So what we have to do now is to increase the pressure, but we must not let Sun Wukong die, because the reason why this Sun Wukong can become the protagonist must have his reasons, which may be directly because of the mysterious energy contained in him. Many. Otherwise, why would he become the protagonist of this world? There is absolutely none. If there is nothing special at all, it will never become the protagonist. So now Qin Yang just wants to understand clearly what is in this Sun Wukong's body. If not, there must be no situation where he becomes the protagonist. Eisen, I may be looking for you to help me over there. I have no way to leave here now, so no matter what, the most important thing now is that you help me catch those Saiyans for me. Come back. Vegeta alone is definitely not enough. Even if I upgrade Vegeta to the second form of Super Saiyan, it will be useless, because the energy in his body is not enough. Qin Yang thought about it. Want to say, I know, since that's the case, then I'll go out now, but I shouldn't touch Sun Wukong. After all, the ghost is there to help the trainer Sun Wukong, so I go directly to other places. Just arrest the Saiyans, Eisen said with a smile. It's okay, as long as it's a Saiyan, those Saiyans who have nothing to do with the plot. Just bring me here, since that person has already decided to kill me, then I can't continue to wait here. Lest he know the location of the space I created and come directly to my space to shoot at me. Qin Yang said helplessly. This is absolutely possible. After all, you must know that in this situation, that person must also want to kill himself, and he wants to kill the other party. To some extent, they are already rivals, a life and death competitor. So no matter what, I think the most important thing now is to improve your strength first, and there is no need to say anything about other things. I went to the world of Dragon Ball first, but there is one thing I have to say. What I still want to tell you is about Madara's side. It is estimated that there is no way to make the android you want so quickly. I took a look at it last time, and it seems that I am still researching it continuously. It will take some time for Sharu to appear. Quote. Aizen said directly. I know, but that's the way it is now. You don't need to worry about other things. It's useless to say anything now, because the most important thing now is to improve our strength. Sharu is just me in this world. It's just a pawn, but now I don't have the skills to play these. Chapter 1018-Final Form. Qinyang looked at Aizen, and now he can't take care of that much anymore. As is often the case, the plan can't keep up with changes, so I don't know how to say it now, but I can imagine that if you don't speed up a little bit, then the person in this world will find yourself. After all, it is very simple for an 8-star person to find it in your own space. I see, since that's the case, I'll go first, and I'll contact you later on other things. Aizen nodded and said. Qinyang did the same. With a wave of his hand, Aizen was sent to the world of Dragon Ball, and it was a very prosperous place. In this way, the number of people could cover up such a trivial atmosphere. Although it is trivial, he still knows that if he is not careful, it is easier to make mistakes, so now he has to be careful no matter what. After all, if he is not careful at this time, it is definitely not great result. If that person discovers the existence of Aizen, it will be over, so the best way now is to send Aizen to some densely populated places, such as the Earth. In this case, even if that person feels the breath is here, but he definitely can't find Aizen completely. So this can still help Aizen escape. After Qinyang sent Lan ran out, he just sat on the stool. He knew that no matter what happened now, he had to eat well. Think about it. Anyway, this is the case at this time. It was impossible to do what he wanted to do. He thought that he could get these things done very smoothly, but in fact it was like this now, and it was simply impossible. In this world, it seems that there is no way to arrange it. You can only complete the most conservative things. Other things simply don't need to be said. Thinking of this, he shook his head directly, knowing that this kind of thing was not what he wanted. If it was possible, he would definitely not be like this. He even wanted to do more things. For example, these things are his least want. He didn't know what to say now. He looked at Vegeta in the distance, then thought for a while, then teleported to Vegeta's side, and said, "How's the training now?" The training is still very good. But there is one thing I am very confused about. Why do you want to help me? Why do you want to make me stronger? If not, I think I can beat Kokoro too special. Vegeta didn't admit defeat at all Shui. But Qinyang knows that this kind of thing is not so simple at all. If Vegeta's efforts are made alone, there is no problem in defeating Sun Wukong. But in fact, if you want to control Sun Wukong and Piccolo if these people win together, it is basically impossible, so now Qinyang wants to strengthen Vegeta's strength. No reason, just because I like it, you know. Qinyang said indifferently. It's just because you like it, so you don't need to think too much. We have no purpose. We just want to help you. Even if you think about other things, I don't think you can think of it. So you still need to feel at ease in this place to strengthen the demolition strength. Qinyang Hihi Isho. It's funny to say this kind of thing, but that's how it is now. Other things can be left out, but these things cannot be left out. Okay, I'll take it as I believe you, but you must know that our Saiyan family will never be grateful to you for this kind of thing. Vegeta said directly. Don't worry, I can tell you that I definitely don't want your gratitude. If I want your gratitude, I will directly elevate you to the final form of your Saiyans. Why is that necessary? What's the trouble? You said yes. Qinyang said directly with a smile on his face. Vegeta, on the other hand, stared at Qinyang with wide eyes. Seeing that Qinyang didn't seem to be lying, she immediately grabbed Qinyang. But of course Qinyang wouldn't let him touch him. He just smiled, and then said, I knew you would be excited. What's the matter? As soon as he heard the final form of the Saiyan, he just jumped. When you get up, you don't have that arrogance anymore, do you? Ellipsis. Winds extreme, dream of love, 773,943,984. The extreme wind, Wanwa mirror, 874,542,149. Vegeta gritted her teeth and said, if I can successfully become the final form of the Super Saiyan, I don't need to be afraid of Frieza, and I definitely don't need to afraid of anyone in this world because the final form of the Super Saiyan is the most powerful. Quote. Qinyang heard Isho and said, are you so confident in your final form? Of course, the final form of our Saiyans is the most powerful people in the entire universe. We are a fighting nation, we were born to fight, so if I can become in the final form, then this piece of the universe will be trampled under my feet, and I will conquer the entire universe. Quote. Vegeta had a smile on his face, very confident, and Qinyang listened with a smile on his face, and said, since that's the case, then I'll let you know what your final form is. Anyway, I'm bored now, so it's okay to let you feel your final form for 10 seconds. Qinyang said directly with a smile. Anyway, no matter what it is now, it is already very good. Now I still have to wait for them to come back. In my current space, the only thing that can improve my strength is Vegeta, and this Vegeta is AA male number 2. After all, the frequency of this Vegeta appearing in the back is very frequent, even if he used to be a bad character. But after becoming a good friend of Sun Wukong, it is very good to protect the Earth with Sun Wukong directly. Therefore, Qinyang believes that Vegeta also has great potential. After all, when Zengjin was a Super Saiyan IV, this person merged with Wukong and became Vegeta. Qinyang also knew about this. So it's just a smile on his face. No matter what it is, the most important thing now is to improve his strength, and there is no need to say more about other things. Chapter 1019-Battle with Super Saiyan God. Qinyang stretched out a hand directly, and then followed Vegeta's head. Then, Vegeta's strength was constantly improving, and the first form of Super Saiyan appeared soon. Qinyang is not that simple. He continues to transmit energy. If it is only the first form of Saiyan, there must be no suspense. The same is true for the second form, and the same is true for the third, but if it is the fifth, then Qinyang is a little surprised. After all, if Vegeta can really become the fifth form, it means that he also has such potential. Being able to become a Super Saiyan God. Although the fourth form is a bit difficult, it seems to have passed, and the only thing Qinyang is waiting for is the fifth stage, and at this time Vegeta is already stunned. He never thought that he would be able to become the fifth form, the final form of their Saiyan one day. No, 10 seconds, but 10 seconds is actually very good. At least let him feel the power of the final form, which is also very useful for his future development. So no matter what, this is the case now, Qinyang has already delivered enough energy to Vegeta, but whether it can become the final form still depends on Vegeta himself. Vegeta clenched his fists tightly and his veins were exposed. He had never been so eager for power, and had never felt so powerful. He felt that every cell in his body was surging, that every cell was beating, and they were eager to fight, just like himself. Give it to me. Vegeta seemed to roar directly, and then his whole body was tamed in the air, and then there was a change in form, which made him look shocked. He really didn't know how exactly is this done. A smile on his face, Qinyang said, it's finally become the fifth form. I thought there was no way to succeed, but since it's successful, then that's fine. Vegeta, you have 10 seconds now. Time to use your final form, and if you think you can't find an opponent, you can try to attack mine. After speaking, Vegeta said nothing. With a smile on his face, his body suddenly appeared behind Qinyang, and he punched, but in fact, Qinyang just disappeared in place and escaped him. Attacked. Do you only dodge? Since that's the case, I'll let you dodge. Vegeta looked smug, and then released her own vitality. Countless vitality bullets scattered directly, and the speed was very fast. This vitality bomb was originally Sun Wukong's trick, But after Vegeta and Sun Wukong became good friends, he also learned from Sun Wukong. However, if it is his normal time, there is no way to use it. Only now that it has become the final form, it is not so simple to use. Instead, he directly regarded the Vitality Bullet as a small attack method, and Vegeta's most important attack method was behind the Vitality Bullet. He used the Vitality Bullet just to find out Qin Yang's body. And he has found it. With a smile on his face, he destroyed it with a punch, and a beam of light rushed towards Qin Yang, making Qin Yang unable to dodge. Qin Yang has a smile on his face. Even so, he is not panic at all, because there is nothing to panic about this kind of thing. It is just the final form of the fifth form. If not because the world has not yet formed the supermodel, in that case, the fifth form is just the middle form. There are 5 more forms on top of the fifth form, and even in the 10th stage, Qin Yang will definitely not be false. After all, he himself does not know how powerful his strength is, but even King Quan has no way to fight against him. And Quan Wang, the strength is equivalent to the fifth form and even more powerful existence. As for how powerful it is, I don't know, because no one has seen him use the most powerful strength. Since this is the case, Qin Yang looked at Vegeta with an arrogant face and blasted it out in a circle. Anyway, these things have been settled now. Now always have to try how powerful Vegeta's final form is. After all, no one knows. He also threw a punch, and the whole space was shaking. If there are stars in this space, I think those stars have been blown up and shattered. I didn't expect that your strength is still so powerful. I finally know it, but even so, you are definitely not my opponent. I can imagine that. Vegeta is not at all unwilling to believe that even if he is in the final form, there is no way to kill Qin Yang. This is something he finds incredible, so he directly uses his power. He kept moving, and then countless very powerful moves fell on Qin Yang, but Qin Yang was just a sword move, and he was not panic at all. In 10 seconds, they directly fought a battle to destroy the entire universe, but even so, Vegeta has returned to normal again, and it is still unbelievable. Even if he has become the final form, he is still there is no way to kill the opponent. In this way, how powerful is the other party, and where can the strength reach? He looked at Qin Yang, and then asked directly, "You, what stage is your strength at? Even if our final form of Saiyans can't fight you, what kind of strength are you?" "I don't think I need to tell you about this. After all, you know it. Now, no matter what happens, I have to keep it a secret, so what I can say now is that you don't always think the final form of your Saiyans is the most powerful. To know that there are more powerful people and more powerful races in this universe, it is always good to have a heart of awe." Quote. After Qin Yang finished speaking, he definitely didn't care about that much. He knew that Vegeta's self-esteem had been severely hit now, especially now that things like this are much simpler. But no matter what, he always wants to let Vegeta know that the final form of the Saiyan is not the most powerful. Only through his continuous efforts to make his strength continue to become stronger, this is the most important thing. Chapter 1020 Aizen is injured. But he knew that even if he said that at this time, it would be useless, because Vegeta couldn't hear it now. He is arrogant and does not accept opinions. He has always felt that his race is the most suitable for fighting, but now he knows. He looked at Qin Yang, then clenched his fists and said, "Don't think that I will give up. I will definitely become the 5th stage. I will definitely become the final form. You wait for me, at that time, I will come to fight with you." After Vegeta finished speaking, she looked directly at Itachi. "What's the matter? Do you still want to treat me as an opponent?" "I don't think so. Even so, if you can't beat Qin Yang, you probably won't be able to beat me," Itachi said indifferently. "How do you know you can't win if you don't try?" "He can't win because he's standing too high, but there's not much difference between my strength and yours, so I don't need to say anything. I must let you know, my strength is constantly increasing, faster than anyone else." Vegeta laughed directly, and then rushed up. Qin Yang went back to his seat, and then felt the energy he absorbed from Vegeta, and found that although the energy was not too little, it was actually not too much, so it was still far from being his own. 8-star master. It seems that they have to hurry up, otherwise that person should come to the door. Qin Yang muttered, and then contacted Aizen, but only at this time did he realize that Aizen was actually injured. What's the matter? Qin Yang asked, his face gloomy. There is a person, a very strong person, who can fight against me, and can also hurt me. It seems that he wants to take me away, but he did not kill me. Aizen said with some horror. They didn't kill it, it means that it can actually be killed. Qin Yang heard this, he gritted his teeth, and then said, you come back first, but I want to see what they want. No, you don't need to move the space to this place at this time. I think they are just waiting for you to move the space to this place, and then take me back, no matter what. I think the most important thing is now we still need to find a place to heal first, but fortunately they should not know our plan. Aizen said directly. You find a place to heal first, even if they know about it, it doesn't matter, anyway, if they stop it, that is to let Frieza completely occupy the earth, or destroy it, this kind of thing he is at, it will not be allowed to happen. Qin Yang said directly with a smile on his face. I see, I don't need to say more about other things. I'll find a place to heal my wounds first. After all, I can't heal the wounds on my body in a while, and the most important thing is, they have already remembered my breath, and if they are not mistaken, they can still perceive me now, and they are waiting for your appearance. Quote. Blue dye analysis. I understand, since this is the case, be careful yourself, I don't need to say more about things on my side, anyway, I'll just wait for you, remember, you have to be careful in everything, otherwise, I'm still a little worried, but the other things are nothing. Qin Yang nodded directly. I know, but it's a pity, I was going to capture a Saiyan to you, but now there is no way to let the Saiyan escape. Aizen said helplessly. These things will wait for you to recover from your injuries, and I believe in your strength. Although your current strength is not as strong as theirs, as long as you continue to cultivate, I believe you can defeat them. Qin Yang said with a smile. Lan Ran nodded and cut off contact with Qin Yang. Anyway, he wanted to ensure Qin Yang's safety. After all, if Qin Yang was discovered at this time, he knew that there was absolutely no way to survive. Therefore, he must ensure that Qin Yang will not be discovered for the time being. He was brought to this world by Qin Yang. If there is any accident, he can only stay in this world forever. Although there is nothing wrong with him, he still wants to go to more worlds. See more different views. This is what he wants most. As for other things, there are not so many. He is a person who has no desires and no desires. Apart from pursuing the growth of his own strength, there is nothing else he wants. So I don't know what to do now, but that's how it is now, so no matter what it is, he will definitely handle this kind of thing. He looked at the surrounding scenery. There are many insects on this planet, and even spiritual creatures or insects. Among these insects as big as people, there are some very powerful Saiyans mixed in. After they came to this planet, they did not seem to rule the planet, but lived in this place. Of course, Aizen did not believe that these Saiyans had no thoughts, and did not occupy this planet. They could only say that their goal was bigger than this planet. This is the only thing that can be explained. There are not many reasons for other things. The Saiyans are a famous fighting family. If it is not for fighting, they will feel that life is meaningless. Although there are not many people in their race now, but it is enough, Aizen found a cave casually, and then healed in the cave. I hope they don't come here so quickly, otherwise I'll have to change places again. Aizen sighed. It was the first time he met someone who could hurt or even kill himself people, and he knew that these people must have something to do with the one who killed the shadow to the enemy. Otherwise, this would not be possible. He narrowed his eyes, and then healed his wounds. When his injuries were healed, 3 days later, he opened his eyes and looked at the insects all around him. Smiled and said, "What's the matter? Have I occupied your cave now? So you have to look at me like this." After Aizen finished speaking, a wise bug came up and said, "Dear guest, our king is invited." After the bug finished speaking, it was Vivi's nodding, very respectful.